Hey, it is Monday, which means it's time for a little bit of Richard's Monday motivation. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about a word called consistency. It's a constant theme in things that I talk about throughout our content and the things that we do. However, I was doing a little bit of consulting for a friend of mine's business last week, and it's a word that came up repeatedly when we were talking about processes and how to be successful and how to instill that in employees and those that follow us. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that today on this edition of Monday Motivation. I also want to talk about habits because a lot of people, we talk about consistent. We talk about how do you become consistent? How do you get up at the same time every morning? How do you consistently hit sales goals? Or how do you consistently have good relationships? How do you consistently be successful? Well, the truth is, most of us aren't consistently successful. We're consistently trying, which leads to success. But that's the part that people see. We consistently fail too. But I want to share a quote from Ralph Waldo Emerson that we actually talked in Sunday school a little bit about yesterday. And I think it's important. It just fell in line with what I'd been talking about with consistency last week. And so I thought, God puts these things in your head sometimes for a reason. But Ralph Waldo Emerson said, sow a thought and you reap an action. Sow an action and you reap a habit. Sow a habit and you reap a character. Sow a character and you reap a destiny. Sow a thought and you reap an action. Sow an action and you reap a habit. Sow a habit and you reap a character. Sow a character and you reap a destiny. What is so important about that? Why are habits important? And I think it's James Clear in Atomic Habits that talks about habits that serve you and habits that don't. There's no such thing as good or bad. We often associate habits with bad things like alcoholism or smoking or doing drugs or things like that. But habits that serve you, habits that make you better, if you want to be consistent, you can't try to do it every once in a while. I mean, that's obviously the opposite of consistent. But when you try to overcome human nature, it is difficult. We are made of flesh. It is hard. There's a reason that diets fail. Budgets don't always work because we don't know how to be consistent. We have to learn how to build habits. And in the beginning, it's very intentional. And that's where this quote I think is super important because it talks about you sow a thought, your thoughts end up becoming your habits. The things that you dwell on, the things that you plant in your mind become actions. The things that you that become actions end up becoming habits, and your habits will define your character, and your character defines your destiny. The thing is, you have the power to change it at any point in time, and you can. I'm telling you right now, if you want to be consistent, you have to change your habits. You have to learn how to create good habits. The things that I take for granted that I do well are because I established habits many, many years ago that I still do. I read 15 minutes a day every day of my life. I listen to audiobooks, I physically read, and it's not crap. It's stuff that's good for me. Now, it's not always self-help business books, but it is going to be something that benefits either my mind, body, or soul, but it's something that was instilled in me a long time ago that I don't even think about it anymore. It is part of my character. I saw an infographic that I shared on my personal Facebook this week. And so that's the point of this Monday motivation. I want to make a challenge to everybody out there. I want you to go out and try to do something today for me. But not for me, but for you. Let me find it real quick. But it wasn't Mark Twain. He came out and said, eat your frogs. If you eat a frog first thing in the morning, and I'm paraphrasing, the rest of the day is not so bad, right? So I want you to focus on every day this week, including today. Do the thing that you're putting off, the thing that you are dreading the most first. Maybe it's first thing when you get to the office. Um, but basically, this says there's a bad feedback loop or a perpetual cycle of avoiding the task, stressed about not getting the task done, and fear of failure, which goes back to avoiding the task, which goes to stressed about not getting it done, which goes back to fear of failure, which goes back to avoiding the task, goes back to stress about not getting things done, which goes back to fear of failure. Every day this week, I want you to make a habit of doing the thing that you dread the most first. I'm not a huge Dave Ramsey fan. Some of y'all know that. While I do agree with a lot of his advice and practicality, and I don't think that you should give blanket financial advice to people because everybody's situation is different. But one thing he does is when you're paying off debt, you start with the smallest one first, not necessarily the one with the highest interest rate. Which in my financial world, I go, that doesn't make any sense. You got to knock down the highest rate first, but it's a mental thing. It's to overcome the smallest hurdle. And so I'm telling you right now, if in the morning you do the thing every day that you dread the most, maybe it's making 15 sales calls. I'm in sales, and I've always had a rule that I like to make 10 calls by 10 a.m. or 10 texts or 10 emails. If you do that every day, you set the tone for the entire day and the week. But it's consistency, and it's building that habit of doing it daily. So, what I'm challenging you is this week, do the thing that you are dreading the most. Do the thing that you don't want to do. Eat the frog first thing in the morning. Make it a habit in your life. Then you won't be afraid of anything else the rest of the day. Nothing else will be as daunting. But what happens is we put these things in our head that I don't want to do it. And 4, 5, 6 o'clock rolls around, and guess what? We don't do it. We put it off for tomorrow. And tomorrow comes and we do the same damn thing. Get over it today. Face the fear of failure. Quit avoiding the task that you know you have to do. Quit being stressed about getting it done because you're going to get it done today. The other part of that is take baby steps if you have to. Maybe you need to clean off your desk. Maybe you need to organize things a little bit. Start with one corner. Start with one little part of it. Get it done today. Spend 10 or 15 minutes. Face your week. It is the first Monday of the month, first Monday of the quarter. It is time to shine, people. I want you to live it full, and I want you to go out there and eat your frogs first today. If you like what you hear, leave us a 5-star review. Go share us with your friends. I think there's a lot of people out there that need to hear this message on this beautiful Monday. Share us, listen to us on Spotify, Apple, wherever you do. Leave us a review, and continue to live it full.